Do you know what this number is? Does it ring any bells?
But I think you're referring to my compensation in some way.
Yeah, well, in some way. This was your compensation in 2017 for being CEO of Celgene, and that's a lot of money. It's 200 times the average American's income and 360 times what the average senior gets on Social Security. Now, of that 13 million, about 2.1 million came from your company hitting yearly earning targets. And more than half of the bonus formula was based on those targets. Any increase in the price of Revlimid would also increase your bonus by increasing earnings. Isn't that right, Mr. Ellis?
If revenues increased and expenses did not, then earnings would be enhanced. And
thank you. Mr. Ellis, in fact, the Oversight Committee found that if you hadn't increased the price of Revlimid, you wouldn't have gotten your bonus. Mr. Ellis, do you know how much you personally received in bonuses over 2 years, the last 2 years, just because Celgene raised the price of this one drug, Revlimid?
I receive very generous compensation, but I don't know the exact number that you're referring to.
In fact, you personally received $500,000 personally just by tripling the price of Revlimid. So to recap here, the drug didn't get any better. The cancer patients didn't get any better. You just got better at making money. You just refined your skills at price gouging. And to be clear, the taxpayers spent $3.3 billion on Revlimid.
There are a few things that are 100% certain in life: death, taxes, and that things are about to go south really quickly if you're ever sitting in front of Katie Porter and the whiteboard comes out. Here, the California freshman took on Celgene CEO Mark Allis regarding a price hike for the drug Revlimid, which in 2005 cost $215 per dose and now costs $763 per dose, a 255% increase, which is just slightly above inflation. And yet, with regard to why the cost of the drug increased so much, it's not that the drug worked faster, because it didn't. It's not that there were fewer side effects, because there weren't. It's not that the formula was changed, because it wasn't. The only difference was that if the price went up, Alice's salary would go up. And $500,000 later, here we are. The fact is that we need people like Katie Porter in Congress to hold people like Mark Allis to account. And in fairness, it's not just Republicans at fault here, because both parties benefit from donations from pharmaceutical companies like Celgene. But the people who are taking these companies on, people like Katie Porter and Jamie Raskin and Rashida Tlaib and Ayanna Pressley, are Democrats, all of whom are either in their first or second terms. It's a class of elected officials who care more about protecting the interests of the American people instead of taking checks for their own re-election campaigns. And this is the direct benefit of blue wave elections. Katie Porter's district, California's 45th congressional district, has been red since it was created. Porter is the first Democrat ever elected to this seat, and within 2 years, she's proven one of the fiercest advocates for the American people. If ever there was a reason for those in traditionally Republican districts to vote for Democrats, Katie Porter is reason number 1, 2, and 3 on that list. And bear in mind, this isn't even the first time that we've seen Katie Porter achieve real, tangible change for the American people. Nor is it the first time we saw her do it with the help of her whiteboard. Remember that it was Katie Porter herself who got the CDC director, Dr. Redfield, to agree to free coronavirus tests for all Americans.
For someone without insurance, do you know the out-of-pocket cost of a complete blood count test?
No, ma'am, not immediately.
Do you have a ballpark?
With a copay, ma'am?
No, the out-of-pocket, just the typical cost.
I do not, ma'am.
Okay, a CBC typically costs about $36. What about the out-of-pocket cost for a complete metabolic panel?
Ma'am, I'd have to pass on that as well.
You have any idea? You want to take a ballpark?
I would say $75.
Okay, 58.
Getting closer.
How about flu A? The flu A test.
Ma'am, again, I would take a guess at about maybe 50.
43. Flu, this is like the Price is Right. Flu B.
Too high again. I would probably say 44.
That's good. How about the cost of an ER visit for someone identified as high severity and threat?
I'm sorry, ma'am, what was the question again?
How about the cost of an ER visit for somebody identified as having high severity or high threat?
High severity, but ma'am, that's probably about $3,000 to $5,000.
Okay. That is $1,151. This all totals up to $1,331. That's assuming they aren't kept in isolation. Isolation can add up for one family already, $4,000. And fear of these costs are going to keep people from being tested, from getting the care they need, and from keeping their communities safe. We live in a world where 40% of Americans cannot even afford a $400 unexpected expense. We live in a world where 33% of Americans put off medical treatment last year. And we have a $1,331 expense, conservatively, just for testing for the coronavirus. You need to make a commitment to the American people so they come in to get tested. You can operationalize the payment structure tomorrow.
I think you're an excellent questioner, so my answer is yes.
Excellent. Everybody in America hear that. You are eligible to go get tested for coronavirus and have that covered regardless of insurance.
So if you want people in Congress fighting like this, flip those safe red seats away from Republicans whose only priority is protecting Trump and start electing Democrats whose priority is protecting you. While you're here, please subscribe to my podcast, No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, where I take a deeper dive into the week's biggest stories and interview major players in the world of politics, like Kamala Harris, Adam Schiff, Katie Porter, Nancy Pelosi, Cory Booker, Eric Swalwell, and many more. Again, that's No Lie with Brian Tyler Cohen, available anywhere you listen to podcasts.